I bet you're bored of hearing about FATF and regulations. Probably isn't even on your radar right now, but this sense that people are coming to take away all the nice things that we have. And let's face it, there are 1,000 other entry points to this space that are really a lot more interesting. Thing is though, here at the Defiant, we cannot afford to ignore it. For the longest time, DeFi has been this niche corner of the cryptoverse populated by weirdos, wonks, and degenerates. But we're about to be thrust into the very front line of the battle for the soul of this entire space. With Zuckface announcing Meta and the Web 2 behemoth's plan for global domination, it's going to put this weird little corner of ours even more into the spotlight. Stablecoins are literally the backbone of DeFi, and this conversation will shape the future of the entire crypto space in ways that will eclipse even Bitcoin's spectacular rise to legitimacy. Stablecoins are the sinequanon of Web 3, and the US Treasury seems to be absolutely petrified of them. So, if this subject does indeed bore you rigid, I'd urge you to just watch this one video. I've tried to keep it short and sweet because, well, DeFi just hit the big time, and this is the Defiant. So this 22-page report dropped Monday. And compared to the marathon 111-page updated FATF guidance that dropped last week, it's a relatively lighter read, but there's still some significant meat in there. And it was prepared by an interagency committee known as the President's Working Group on Financial Markets, led by the Treasury, which also includes the Federal Reserve, Securities and Exchange Commission and Commodity Futures Trading Commission. So all the big dogs.
You know what? I'm the hero.
And the report acknowledges that today stablecoins are primarily used to facilitate trading of other digital assets. But they do admit stablecoins could be more widely used in the future as a means of payment by households and businesses. So by everyone, everywhere. And the report is accompanied by a telling quote from Janet Yellen.
Stablecoins that are well designed and subject to appropriate oversight have the potential to support beneficial payments options, but the absence of appropriate oversight presents risks to users in the broader system. Current oversight is inconsistent and fragmented, with some stablecoins effectively falling outside the regulatory perimeter. Treasury and the agencies involved in this report look forward to working with members of Congress from both parties on this issue. While Congress considers action, regulators will continue to operate within their mandates to address the risks of these assets.
Risks? What are these risks? Well, we'll get into them straight after these messages from our sponsors. Don't let high gas costs keep you out of Ethereum. At Balancer, the gas-optimized vault architecture makes trading cheaper than anywhere else. Liquidity providers can optimize their fee earnings using the dynamic fee system that automatically adjusts to market conditions. You can also use asset managers to lend out idle assets, dramatically increasing your capital efficiency. And because Balancer is an open platform for flexible, automated markets, you can choose from stable pools or weighted pools, and in the future, more designs will be created that we don't even know about yet. Check it out at balancer.fi. Do you want to get actionable insights and find new investment opportunities before everyone else? Well, Nansen is a blockchain analytics platform tracking more than 100 million wallet addresses. Make informed decisions on your yield farming and investments through dashboards like hot contracts, smart money, and NFT paradise, and see who's aped into an NFT collection or farm, and look into the behavior of money flows on chain. Sign up now at nansen.ai and become a smarter investor today. DeFi Saver is one of the essential DeFi apps for advanced portfolio management, with tools to instantly leverage up or unwind your positions, available for top Ethereum lending protocols such as MakerDAO, Aave, Liquidity, Compound, and Reflexer. Famous for its flagship automation features, DeFi Saver is known for saving hundreds of positions from liquidation during major market crashes, such as the one we had in May 2021. By constantly monitoring your positions and automatically making adjustments as soon as needed, it provides you with peace of mind while being away from your keyboard and your keys. DeFi Saver also enables you to combine various DeFi actions, create unique protocol interactions, and execute them in a single transaction using their recipe creator feature. DeFi Saver is your one-stop dashboard for creating, managing, and tracking your DeFi positions. So what about these risks then? Well, the report cites three main ones: the potential for destabilizing runs, disruptions in the payment system, and the concentration of economic power. And they go on to articulate the steps they would like to see taken by Congress, such as to address risks to stablecoin users and guard against stablecoin runs. Legislation should require stablecoin issuers to be insured depository institutions. And this first one is the big one. And it cuts to the heart of the debate about what actually backs a stablecoin and whether we can believe that the issuer does indeed have the claimed assets to back the supply.
I create a lot of things. I start a lot of businesses. Think of them like children. They eventually turn 18 and they do what they do. Sometimes I'm really happy with the things that I've helped create. And I'm like, in approval and saying, good job, everyone. You have the autonomy to operate. And sometimes I'm shaking my head going, oh, what have you done?
Now, should a large number of holders of a particular stablecoin decide to redeem them for, let's say, dollars, they could create the equivalent of a run on the bank.
In the midst of the dramatic negotiation between the Greek government and its creditors, many Greek depositors pulled euros out of the banks since they are afraid either of a Grexit or a capital control. Even though one would expect that Greeks would transfer their savings to foreign banks, they have chosen other places to hide their money. Lots of citizens prefer to get their money home, where they keep large amounts or even gold coins. This young man who prefers to hide his face is one of them who is afraid of the financial situation.
I just came back from the bank and I took all of my money from my bank account because I heard so many things and I start to fear about to lose the rest of my money that I had all this year. And now I'm thinking about to taking back to my home and hide it as most of Greeks do it nowadays.
And if the issuer does indeed hold $1 for every stablecoin dollar, then there should be no problem. But we know that this hasn't always been the case with crypto assets or commercial paper hiding in attestation reports instead. So their solution is to require issuers to be regulated like any other insured depository institution. In other words, regulating them like banks, and in the process providing some form of government backstop in the event of a crisis. Oh yeah, bailing them out. That sounds familiar. Now, if we look at the current stablecoin landscape, Paxos is the name that stands out as the gold, is that the right word? Stablecoin standard for regulatory compliance. It's a trust company and regulated by the New York State Department of Financial Services. And this means Pax, as well as BUSD and GUSD, are approved by the NYDFS, acronym overload, right? And they are in fact supervised by the regulator on an ongoing basis. USDC, which is the second largest stable by market cap, is not. It is issued by Center, which is the joint venture between Circle and Coinbase. But Circle were in fact subpoenaed by the SEC after they began onboarding corporate USD holders in their first high-interest yield product, Circle Yield. Now, if you remember, Coinbase's own attempts to launch a lending protocol were shot down extremely fast by the SEC, who threatened to sue them if they launched their own product, Lend. So they backed down, wouldn't you? Circle themselves revealed back in July that while the majority of USDC reserves were in fact in cash or cash equivalents, which are defined as securities with an original maturity less than or equal to 90 days, there was still a chunk that wasn't. 13% in Yankee Cds and 12% in the form of US Treasuries. I suppose you're wondering what a Yankee CD is. Well, shut up while I tell you. A Yankee Certificate of Deposit, or CD, is a type of CD that is issued in the United States by a branch of a foreign bank, foreign muck. Yankee CDs are denominated in US dollars and are used by foreign banks to raise capital from US investors. Yankee CDs are savings accounts that pay interest before returning their initial investment at the end of a specified investment period. Got it? And it's worth comparing this to the latest attestation report from September 2021, where we can see, whoa, 100% of the reserve is in cash and cash equivalents. So all that other stuff, gone. $31.7 billion worth of it, or about the same as the GDP of Yemen. That's a lot of money. Circle have already stated their ambition to become a national digital currency bank, so it's clear they're doing everything they can to keep their noses clean. So what else does the working group flag? To address concerns about payment system risk, in addition to the requirements for stablecoin issuers, legislation should require custodial wallet providers to be subject to appropriate federal oversight. Congress should also provide the federal supervisor of a stablecoin issue with the authority to require any entity that performs activities that are critical to the functioning of the stablecoin arrangement to meet appropriate risk management standards. Which is just a long way of saying KYC, AML, bosh, done, if you want to be legit. And finally, the last issue is to address additional concerns about systemic risk and concentration of economic power. Legislation should require stablecoin issuers to comply with activities restrictions that limit affiliation with commercial entities. So, this is a clear response to Facebook's DM stablecoin proposal. Originally called Libra, they published the white paper for that back in 2019, and that event probably did more for accelerating the agency's push to create these guidelines than anything else, undoubtedly troubled by the existential threat of a currency whose network distribution could be spun up instantly to nearly a third of the world's population. That's massive. Now, one of the side effects of the Libra white paper was to bring more government energies to bear on CBDCs, or central bank issued digital currencies. And while there are undoubtedly concerns over privacy and the increasing encroachment of surveillance on normal citizens, it's also worth noting that CBDCs have two quite distinct advantages over stablecoins. First, they offer the ability to embed compliance and digital identity features from the get-go, but they could also automate the collection and distribution of taxes, which would save an enormous amount of money. So the very first of these, the digital Renminbi, or digital currency electronic payment, DCEP, is already live, with China running trials and pilot schemes since last year. And just this Wednesday, Mu Changchun, head of the Digital Currency Research Institute at the People's Bank of China, claimed that 140 million individuals in China have already activated their eCNY wallets. That's 10% of the population of China. And he also claimed that $9.5 billion has been spent using the currency. That is not chump change. Now, as for the working group's report itself, well, it's guidance only, offering pathways. But you can tell from the language that they're expecting Congress to jump on this and make things happen, which, if you know Congress, can be a little bit like pulling teeth. Now, while congressional action is urgently needed to address the risks inherent in payment stablecoins, in the absence of such action, the agencies recommend that the Financial Stability Oversight Council, FSOC, consider steps available to it to address the risks outlined in this report. So the answer to everything is just to make another government agency with a weird acronym and then go do something. So in other words, if you guys can't figure it out, Congress, we're just going to go ahead and make things happen ourselves. But we'd rather we didn't have to do that. The final paragraph in the report seems to point the way to a broader set of guidelines that will be applicable to all cryptocurrencies. Now, while the scope of this report is limited to stablecoins, work on digital assets and other innovations related to cryptographic and distributed ledger technology is ongoing throughout the administration. So we can undoubtedly expect similar sets of frameworks to be published next year, as the agencies continue to put pressure on the industry as a whole. The recently published updated FATF guidelines have also shown where the regulators' concerns lie regarding humble DeFi. And it seems clear that they're really struggling to understand how to deal with it. But one of the key takeouts is this: calling yourself DeFi isn't going to cut it. Decentralization theater will be called out and dealt with by strict AML and KYC requirements, specifically when developers have the ability to restrict coin listings on a decentralized exchange, for instance, operate a domain that enables users access, or are otherwise able to intervene in the activities of a DeFi marketplace in a significant way, or to use their language, control or sufficient influence, whatever that means. Now look, this is a very exciting moment for this tiny little space of ours. We get to play a part in advocating for our piece of what is looking like the most significant upheaval in national economics since the ditching of the gold standard. And as always, we'll try and give you the best coverage we can, but if you're looking for more detail on the work being done by DeFi advocates, then I would highly recommend our interview with Joe Weinberg of Shift. They're a small group of heroes whose names we will almost certainly never know, who've been at this for quite a long time now. and we do owe them a lot. I hope that was helpful. Don't forget you can catch all the latest DeFi news on the website at thedefiant.io, or you can subscribe to the newsletter for more detailed insights and exclusive content. Drop us a like, subscribe, ping the bell, ding the rel, I don't know. We're really on the hot bleeding edge of this now, and it's going to be one hell of a ride. This was The Defiant.